Hi, everybody. Welcome to Build a Quilt. So this video is all about our 24 block challenge. Have you been a part of our 24 block challenge yet? If you have, then this is the next block, block 20. If you haven't, we'd love for you to join us. Hi, everybody. My name is Diana. I'm the creator of Build a Quilt, and I'm going to walk you through our 19th block today. Now, we have been making blocks since sometime in the fall we started, and we will finish up right around the end of March, I think, with all 24 blocks. And then we're going to have another video that's going to talk about general ideas for laying out quilts, and we're going to use those blocks as our sample. Now, I've got a couple of our previous blocks here to show you because you should understand kind of what the blocks are about. All the blocks in our series are 9 patches, 3 blocks across, 3 rows, 3 columns. Very easy to make. This was last week's, actually. We worked a little bit with black and white to try and just kind of spice up our whole quilt idea, work with something different, because not a lot of us work with black and white all the time. Let's just magnetize that one up to the board. And then this one was from a couple of weeks ago. Again, another 9 patch. This one's a little bit easier to see that it's 9 patches. And the one thing about all of these is that you can make them in any fabrics you want. I'm going to share with you the fabrics I used, but please pick any fabrics that you like. And I have a whole little, normally I just kind of tell you about the fabrics that I used for my samples, but this week I actually have a little like video in a video, which is going to come up after this first part, to talk to you more in depth about the fabrics we use this week, how I learned about this kind of an idea, and see if you like it. And I'm going to challenge you to try this color scheme, not necessarily the same colors, but the background color, I'm going to challenge you to use it. But first of all, let me share with you how this program for the 24 block challenge works. Here at Build a Quilt, when I started creating the Build a Quilt segments are the pieces, the little squares or little rectangles or whatever little piece that then becomes part of a whole block, which then becomes part of a whole quilt. And so when I started creating them, I noticed that every time I was creating new patterns, I was creating some of those same basic 6 blocks all the time: the half square triangle, the quarter square triangle, the diamond in a square, the flying geese unit, a regular old square, and a split rail. I was making those all the time. And so every time you folks were getting patterns from me, you were getting duplicates of those, and a lot of times in the same sizes. And the last thing I want you to do is fill up your very sacred space in your computer for storing stuff with the same thing all the time, the same block, when you don't need it. So what we did instead was I created the basic segment block libraries. So there are 3 basics libraries, and those basics are exactly what I just shared with you: the half square triangle, the square, the flying geese unit, the quarter square triangle, the diamond in a square, and the split rail. And the 3 libraries are each a set of those 6 segments in different sizes. So we have our mini basics, and the minis are 1, 1.5, and 2-inch sizes. So you get all 3 of those sizes for all 6 of those segments. So you get to pick and choose what you want to use in your patterns. Or if you're working on a pattern and it says you need a 2-inch square and a 1-inch half square triangle, what in the minis, you can go and pull those files, and that way you don't have to store duplicate upon duplicate upon duplicate. So that's part of the reason that we came up with the library system. So our minis, and then we have the same 6 in what we call our standard sizes. Now, these were originally in 2 separate sets, and then we thought, that's silly, let's just combine them. So these were the first 3: the half square triangle, the square, and the quarter square triangle. And then the the diamond in a square, the flying geese unit, and the split rail. And so all three of these, oh, and there's one more set, our brand new one actually that just came out last week. And these sizes came out, the minis and the extendeds, because they were something that you guys wanted. You wanted an expanded group of different sizes that you could use. And last year we did a little poll, and the folks that wanted the minis beat out the folks that wanted the extended sizes by like a handful of votes, literally less than all my fingers on one hand. So the minis came out last year, and then last week we just put out our new extended sizes. So extended sizes, same 6 segments, but in this collection, they come in 6 and 7-inch sizes. Now, in the minis and in the standards, let's talk about some of the things you need. In the minis and the standards, all of those segments can be made with a 5x7 hoop. And that was another thing when I was creating the Build a Quilt system. I wanted this system to be for anyone new, experience, somewhere along in the middle, that wanted to start doing their patchwork with their embroidery machine without having to have one of the top end bigger machines that are lovely. I'll admit I've got a couple, but I wanted anyone. So if you have a basic home embroidery machine and it will take a 5x7 hoop, you can do Build a Quilt. You can do all of our mini sizes and all of our standard sizes. Now, when we get to the extended sizes, so if you're someone who's like, oh, that 6 and 7 inch, I love those sizes, I want those sizes, I want that extended size set, then you are going to need at least an 8x8 inch hoop. Or if you have an 8x12 or anything larger, then you can. But you will need that in order for those segments to be created in the hoop. Okay, so those won't fit in the 5x7. And the extended, it tells you on there, it tells you on the website too, that you need at least an 8x8 hoop. But let me tell you that there are all 3 of these libraries. That's the completed basics libraries. So if you have all 3, you can make pretty much anything you want. If you have larger hoops and you're using the minis, that's okay too, because that just allows you to make more segment components in one hooping. Okay, so it's not a problem if you have an 8x8, if you have one of those big ones now, that's cool. You could probably make 1 or 2 blocks of the minis, like the whole block in one of those hoopings, because they're so big. So if you've got the big hoops, you're more than happy for you to use them, because you're going to save a little stabilizer and you're going to get more done in one hooping. But if not, and all you have is this 5x7, you can do any of our minis all the way up to our 5-inch segments. Any 5-inch segment in any of our patterns. Okay, so I wanted to explain that to you. So you're going to need one of the 3 libraries, and like I said, we've now finished out all the sizes that we'll ever probably do in the basic 6, what we call the basic 6. Because anything bigger than that 7-inch, you really start wasting a lot of fabric, and you start wasting a lot of stabilizer in the trimming and stuff like that. And it makes your quilts super huge, super fast, which can be fun, but it really is a bit ungainly to work with. And we've tried that here. Like, I've tried it. I've had some friends try those out for me, and we all kind of agreed in a little coffee hour one day that anything over that 7-inch was just a little too much. So 6 and 7 inches, those are the largest that our basic segments will be. So as long as you have one of the 3 libraries, you can make all 24 of our blocks in the 24 block challenge. And if you see any of our other patterns that have this kind of a bluish background and all, we're starting a color system. This minty color is going to mean that pattern will work with these sets, these library sets. There's going to be a video coming about that. I'll explain more about that later. I don't want you to get confused, but any of these 3 libraries, you can make all 24 of the blocks and more going forward, okay? So I'm going to leave that set there because in our in my samples, I've been making mine 9 by 9 inches, and we'll talk about that in a moment as well. But there's one other thing you're going to need to download from our website, and it's completely free. And that is the package, the pattern package that goes with that particular block. This is a free download. When you go to our website, up in the top bar, you'll see the words 24 Block Challenge Library. You're going to click on it and it's immediately going to say, you can't get in here. You need a password. Well, what good does that do you, right? So, but right below that, there are the words, click here to receive your password. That just takes you to a little form. You send it in. It's just a little email, your name and email. Send it in, and I will immediately send you back the password. And that's just to keep all of those patterns secure and all from people who like to cause mischief and a little bit of shenanigans on the internet. And a lot of I'll just say our website has had some people try to pull shenanigans on us before. Nothing that ever affected any of you, but that would have affected me greatly on the back end. So I password protected the libraries. But once you get that library password, you just use it anytime you need to go into the free library. Used to, you had to go into our shop and download this and check out and stuff as if you were making a purchase for $0, right? And I didn't like that you had to do that. I just want you to be able to go to a place, download your pattern package, and be done. And that's what you can do now. Right at the top bar on the website, before you even go to the 24 block challenge and it tells you you need the password, click the thing that says, send me the free password, get your password. And then every time you need it, you just go straight to the, I think I just messed up my camera. You just go directly to the library. Okay, so it's super simple to do. And I've got a video. Well, tonight is Wednesday workshop, and I'm going to be showing how that works. So if you want to pop in or watch the replay for Wednesday workshop on the 4th of February, if you can't make it at 6 p.m., and you'll see exactly how that's going to work. Okay, alrighty. So this is what you'll need, and then you'll need. What having the library gives you are your actual digital files, right? Your digital files, it has all the how-to, all of the information you need. And I kind of want to show you that real quick. So when I'm working with this pattern pack, I'm going to go in here, and on this page that gives me the layout, there's a piece here that tells me what segments I'm going to make and how many of each one. Now, it doesn't tell me what to cut as far as sizes, because that's going to depend on you and what size you want to make your block. So I was telling you that I've been making all of my sample blocks 9 by 9. And so what that means is each one of my segment pieces are 3 by 3 finished. So just like that size, 3 by 3 finished. So this is what I do after I find on here, what do I need to do? What segments do I need and how many do I need to make? Let's set that out of the way, and let me go into, here we go. Hang on, let me get to the right page. Oh, I think I put these in backwards or something. There's that one. Yeah, here we go. So let me flip over to the other camera. Yeah, I messed with this a little bit. There we go. That's better. All right. So all of these are downloads, and you can certainly print them and put them in your own binder like I have. But what you'll do is you'll go into your instructions and you'll find, so for this week, we're only working with the diamond and a square. So I go to that cut sheet page and I come down here and I find the one that says 3-inch finished. Then I come across here and it tells me what I need to cut for one block, okay? And then the next section of our video is going to be about color. You can come to the coloring sheets that are part of the library set. Let me pop this out so you can see it better because there's so much glare there. So there is a coloring sheet for each segment included in your library. You can make as many copies as you like, and it allows you to color, play with color, try to figure out what colors you want to use with your particular project, with the one you're going to be making. Okay, now I'm going to come back to our main camera because I want to share something. I'm going to be putting out a free copy of an update for the diamond in a square that will work for all three of our library sizes, library sets. And it says it right down here on your A Diamond in a Square. Under these instructions, I've given you certain instructions for cutting, but I've changed them to help you save a little bit on fabric and make it a little bit easier. So instead of cutting one block for the center and 2 blocks cut on the diagonal to make your 4 flippy corners, which would be 3 pieces of fabric, you only have to cut 1 piece for the center and 1 piece for the flippy corners, because you can then cut that 1 piece for the flippy corners diagonally twice. Let's go back under our camera here. Let me grab my ruler and my rotary cutter. So here's my piece, my square. This is going to make my flippy corners. I'm going to put it on point just like that. Then I'm going to come in here. Let's see, there we go. I'm going to come in here and put my ruler from point to point. And then I'm going to cut it in half. And if you have a rotating cutting mat, all the better. You can rotate it. Or what I do is I do have a rotating one, but sometimes I just don't think about getting it out. I stack them like that, and then I go from the corner, the top point, right down the middle and cut again. And that 1 piece now gives me my 4 flippy corners for our diamond in a square. So instead of cutting 3 pieces of fabric, you're only now going to need to cut 2. You'll have 1 for the center and 1 cut diagonally twice, subcut twice, in order to make your flippy corners, okay? I will be putting that out in a free upgrade for anyone who owns the sets. That will be in the free download library, and that will be coming out here in the next few days. But I wanted to explain it to you. You can always follow what it says in the library sets now. That's totally fine. That's cool. That's how I originally set it up. But I've been trying to find ways to save you a little bit more even on fabric. Okay. So let's put those away. So let's talk about the other couple of things you need for doing Build a Quilt. You're going to need stabilizer. Now, I love the pre-cut sheets, especially when I'm working with my 5x7 hoop. They're super easy. They're super convenient. And you should know we use wash away stabilizer for Build a Quilt. And I've got 2 great videos here on the channel. One is about washing your stabilizer out of your segment pieces and how I came about deciding to do that, because I ran a whole mess of experiments one summer in my kitchen to figure out which stabilizer I really liked. And the wash away worked really great because in the end, I end up with a quilt top. Then I just add my batting and my backing, and then I can quilt it any way I want to. And it doesn't leave any of that stabilizer in my quilt. And that means less bulk in my seams. And when it comes to doing the finished quilting, of course, we want the least amount of bulk as possible. So it ends up like you've stitched it on your sewing machine almost. So it's really easy. And I will tell you that long armors love it that way. All right. A long armor would rather you use that wash away than any other stabilizer. You could use a cutaway, you could use a very thin muslin, but you're going to have that extra bulk and that's going to stay in your quilt. So we use wash away. I love the pre-cuts. I get mine in bulk on Amazon. I get the cheapest bulk that will fit in a 5x7 frame that's pre-cut that I can find. You don't need to use the brand names that are more expensive because basically the stabilizer, they're so similar, you guys. And I won't say any brand names because there are brands out there where I know like the owners and I love them dearly, or the companies. And so I'm not putting down anybody's, but I'm just going to say, because you're going to be using it for making all your segments, I want you to be able to be I want it to be the most economical for you. So just grab, when you type in wash away pre-cut stabilizer in the Amazon search engine, it will bring up lots of them. Find the one that gives you the best price for the most pieces and the size you need and grab that one. And I think this size is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10, I think it's 10 by 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yep, 10 by 12. So this one is 10 by 12 and it fits beautifully for my 5x7 hoop. Does it fit in the 8x8? It's kind of shy on the edges. So for my bigger hoop, I use stabilizer on the roll and I cut it myself. And you're welcome to do that. You're welcome to cut your stabilizer off the roll for all your hoopings. I'm just telling you what I like to do because, to be honest, I'm a little bit lazy when it comes to cutting my stabilizer. I love the convenience of this, but you're going to need a wash away stabilizer. And when I say wash away, I mean the kind of stabilizer we use for like making freestanding lace and things like that, not a paper or anything like that, just your standard old starch, the ones made of starch that you can, yes, wash through, unless you've had your plumber tell you don't use this. Part of my experiment when I chose wash away was that we have a plumber. In fact, he was here this morning because we sprung a leak under the house at 4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, it was an exciting morning to get woke up to that, let me tell you. But I talked to him when I did my experiments and I trust him because he's done like all the plumbing work that we've had to have done in our home. And I said, listen, does this make a difference? And I showed him how it feels and acts and looks when it gets wet and all that. And he said, no, this is made out of starch. It's fine. He said, the only thing he said to me is if you have a septic tank, it's not going to hurt your septic tank, really, not the amounts you're going to be using. He said, but in that case, do what you normally do for your septic tank. If that's something you don't want to risk with a septic tank, then don't risk it. He said, and so in that case, you can still use wash away. Get yourself a big bucket, fill it with lukewarm water or a big bowl, like a big mixing bowl. You'll see me do that in that video and rinse it all out that way. And then you can dump the water outside if you want to. It's not going to hurt anything. And trust me, I grow flowers and stuff and it never has hurt any of mine. I grow crops of flowers and it's never, having thrown water out on the garden like that has never hurt them. So wash away stabilizer, unless for some reason your personal plumber has told you you shouldn't. And in that case, I'd like you to ask him why, because all it is my plumber said this is like if I'm doing a whole quilt, he said it's probably as if you have boiled two big pots of potatoes because you're going to get about that same amount of starch. Okay, so I trust our guy, but you trust your guy, you trust your own gut, your own instinct, okay? Because I'm not telling you that you must, because you can use other stabilizers. I just like the wash away best for this idea. And then the last thing you're going to need is a piecing thread. Take all of your beautiful colors, the ones that sing to you and go, use me, use me, use me, and put them away in a drawer while you're piecing, because otherwise they keep showing up next to you going, use me, use me. No, put them away so you don't have to look at them and you don't have to hear them. Because for piecing, what you want is a dove gray thread. It blends beautifully. If anything peeks through, it's a beautiful thread. And you can use a traditional 40 weight. You can use a 50 weight cotton if you like. If you use a cotton with your embroidery machine, one tip I want to give you is to clean that bobbin case after each and every time you've used it, because even the best cotton threads like Aurifil, all of those will give off some fluff, some fiber, more than polyester will. Okay, so just clean your bobbin case, keep it a little nicer, and you'll be fine. But I'm going to tell you right now that this spool of thread is called Wonderfil by it's from Wonderfil, called Deco Bob, and it is an 80 weight thread. That's right, 80 weight. So it's almost like the 90 weight bobbin thread we use, but it works beautifully for piecing our blocks. Why? It's thinner, still super strong, because you know I wouldn't tell you this if I hadn't experimented with it first. And I experimented for a couple of months at least before I brought you this, because typically I used to always use an Isacord Dove Gray, number 184 or 186, something like that. But then I tried this. And why I tried it is because as a thinner thread, it is going to leave less bulk in your seams, that dreaded bulk. We always go back to that. But with quilting, getting bulk out of your seams is really super important, because the flatter we can press our seams in the end when we go to do our quilting, the easier the quilting is going to be, whether you're doing free motion, whether you're quilting by hand. And I know quilting by hand is coming back, and I say hallelujah for that. That's how I learned over 55 years ago from my grandma. Everything was by hand. We cut by hand, we stitched by hand. So I understand that's coming back in what they're calling a slow quilting movement. Call it what you want. It's taking the old ways and bringing them forward, and I love that. I think that's awesome. So whether you do it by hand, free motion, or you long arm, or take your piece to a long armor, having those flat seams is really going to help. And this 80 weight thread does the trick. Now, there is also a 60 weight piecing thread out there. I think it's by Superior. Don't quote me, but I think so. You could look that up. Superior threads, they're Dove Gray. I think there's a 60 weight in that. That works great as well, but it's thicker than this. And this Deco Bob is super strong. And so I'm not supported. I don't take free product, and I don't get sponsorships, because I want to be able to test this. This is why I've always been, you guys, in those that you've been with me, the years we've done Build a Quilt, know that I want to take and be able to tell you my absolute feeling on this without having to worry about how I wiggle around discussing something that maybe I don't like about a product, because a company would be sponsoring me. So I don't do sponsorships. I don't take free product. So Wonderfil's Deco Bob 80 weight, best piecing thread for patchwork in the hoop that you're ever going to find. Then once you've got your whole quilt made, and it's time to do all of that beautiful finish quilting in any of those techniques, or quilting even with your embroidery machine, of course, then go to that place where you hid the colors and bring them all out, and then start to play to figure out. And that's where you want to use all your beautiful colors in your finished quilting. And that's a story, that's like a subject for a whole nother day. But I wanted to share those things with you. Those are the things you're going to need. Now, coming up next is the video that is going to talk about fabric. Let's just look at the color of the cover of our block this week. It's simple. It's a 9-patch made out of diamonds in a square. But there's a reason I did this. And you guys know how much I love the diamond in a square, because it's such a useful block. There are 4 flippy corners. That gives me a chance to use 4 different colors of fabric if I want to. And there's the center. That center diamond is the perfect place to do what? You guys know it, it's fussy cutting. And I love fussy cutting. I did not fussy cut this intentionally. I made myself hold back. I was going to like fussy cut it all, but I decided to not do it because what I really wanted to talk to you about this week is what I used in the background for the background color, or the fabric that makes up these flippy corners. And that's what the next part of this video is going to share with you, all of that information. And then now your how to make a diamond in a square, that video, how to demo video, is part of whatever library you own. Any of the basic libraries has that video, so you'll go watch that video if you've been with us for a while. Again, I don't put it in all of these where you use the libraries because that comes with your library. All 6 how-to videos come with it. You don't need 4 or 5 different copies of that video laying around when it's the same exact video, although I am getting ready to update them just so they look nicer. These look great, but they're a few years old and I just wanted to film them different. So I had filmed them differently, and we don't know where those videos went. My husband doesn't have them. I can't find them anywhere, so we have to refilm them. I'm not sure what happened. That was kind of a weird day too. Things were like being goofy with the cameras. But so next is all about the color. And then we're going to come back live again here, and then I'm going to talk to you about the layout. The layout is something that comes in the free download, but I like to show it to you when we're here on the video because I know a lot of you are visual and you like to see me put it together and that sort of thing. So go ahead, go check out. There is one how-to video segment that will come at the very end, and that is how we stitch our segments together without using a 1/4-inch foot on our sewing machine. In fact, you don't ever want to use a 1/4-inch foot with the Build a Quilt system. It will get you off and your seams won't be right. And that's because with Build a Quilt, this little line that runs all the way around also runs all the way around the back, and you use that to stitch your pieces together, and then you have the perfect seam each and every time. So let's go check out the fabric part of our video. Okay, everybody, here we are at my cutting table. And normally in the 24 block challenge, we haven't talked a lot about color choice other than I show you what I've used for my sample, because truly you can do whatever color combinations and fabric combinations that you like. It's your block and your quilt, and you should enjoy it. And what I like might not be what you like, or it might inspire you to try something new. But today I wanted to share with you a little idea that I actually learned from Tula Pink watching one of her videos many years ago. And so we're going to go over that today and look and play with some fabrics. But before we do that, I wanted to share with you 2 tools that I always keep nearby when I'm picking fabrics, when I'm designing blocks, and that is a couple of color cards. Now, I've purchased these. This is the Free Spirit Design Essentials Solids collection, and it has all of these solids from Free Spirit, and some of these are the Tula colors. So when I'm designing, especially if I'm designing in brights, and I'm wanting to match a fabric color to a color in my design program, then this is really helpful. Instead of having to drag a whole lap full, I would put a whole lap full of fabrics or a whole pile of fabrics in my lap and then look at them that way. But this way, it's really easy to do that. Now, I did order this, I believe, off the Free Spirit website. I've had it for a while, meaning more than a year. So a while for me is usually more than a year, and that could mean 2 years, 5 years, but usually if it's more than 5, I'll say, forever ago. But so I've had it for a while, and I love it. It's really nice to be able to use this. The other thing I like is when I'm actually picking my fabrics, I've chosen, say, the colors, then I'm going to go pick fabrics. And a lot of times I'm not picking a solid, I'm picking a print. But what I like about this is that my eye is thinking this color, let's say right here where this finger is. But when I go to pick it out of my colors, out of my fabrics, I actually choose this color. They're pretty similar or look pretty similar, but when you look at them right on top of each other here, truly in 3D, they're very different. This is warmer. This is cooler. This is a little bit darker. This is a little bit brighter. So if I chose this and not this, this might not actually work with what I had designed. I might end up cutting fabric and stuff like that. That's why I always tell you, use the coloring sheet we have. Color it in with your pencils or crayons, and then go pick your fabric from that. It'll really help you pick exactly what you want before you end up doing cutting and then finding out you've chosen the wrong thing and it's not going to look great and you've already cut the fabric and now what are you going to do with that? You know, that whole loop that you get into, that whole spiral. What do they call that? Doom spiraling? Yeah, that whole idea. So I love this one and I keep this one. I probably use this one almost every day when especially the days I'm designing. I love this one. And there's one more. It's a big boy, because there's a lot of them. And that's the Grunge Basic Gray by Moda Collection swatch card. Let's open it. Let's see. Let's open it up. It opens this way. Actually, there we go. This is what it looks like on front. Grunge Basic Gray, Moda. And then when you open it, there's several pages. Look at all of that pretty grunge fabric. Look at it, all those beautiful colors. It's like looking at a big box of crayons. Like, for some reason, when this one closes, it tends to want to, this is, my iron's not on, but it's still a little bit warm from having pressed a couple of that black piece of fabric. So let's just, I don't know why though. For some reason, when this one closes, it always wants to wrinkle up this side over here, the purples and stuff. But look, and right here, those are my colors, right? I love it. It's like looking in that big box of crayons, and here you have the rest. And then over here, they tell you like different ways it can be purchased and things like that. And then, oops, this one's all bumpy too. This one needs to be ironed. I'll do that one later because that's going to take a little more effort. Boy, I don't know how it got like that, but anyway, these are the grays to the black, the whites to the creams, more of the browns. So really beautiful color card. And I use this one a lot. And even in here, it will show you more of their grunge, the grunge with the stars, the grunge with the dots, which is another favorite of mine, more grunge with the dots. And the reason I like to have this around is because a lot of you know, I don't truly love to use just solids in my quilts. I will, but I don't love to all the time. But I love to use the Moda Grunge instead because it has that texture, that movement, which gives the quilt a little bit more of an excited look to it. A little more of a textural, comfy, warm feeling to it. So this one, and I think I bought this one probably directly from Moda. And I have had this one for more than for a while. I've had this one like almost forever. I've had this one for a long time, and that's probably another reason why things get wrinkled up because I use it so often. But I keep those two. I have other color cards, and I have color cards from Pantone and all that because they're very helpful in designing. But the one I use a lot is this Free Spirit one because of the fabric swatches, and they're really helpful even when you're picking out prints and stuff. So that's my other one that I absolutely love. It's probably my favorite. All right, so let's get back to this little tip idea that Tula shared that for me, I agree with, but you may not, but let's talk about it. So here we have just a remnant of black fabric, black cotton, quilting cotton. It's part of, I'm sure it's part of a fat quarter. So the day I saw this video that Tula put out, she was saying how she didn't really care for black fabric. She felt it made the quilt too saturated, too heavy. It just wasn't her thing. That's cool. Everybody gets a chance to have their thing, their say in their quilts, right? And then she came out with that beautiful black and white collection, which was just stunning. I don't do a lot of black and white, but I love that black and white fabric, the quote unquote solids, because it was tone on tone, so it wasn't really solid. I love that so much. I bought a couple of bolts of each of those to use when I had to use either black or white for my solids. So this is not her thing. And I thought, okay, well, that's her choice. But then she went on to tell us what she did like better. And what she likes better to use in place of black, now this one hasn't been ironed yet, is a gray, kind of a mid to deep gray. This is a little lighter. This is a mid, but it's a little lighter mid. But this kind of gray. And before we talk about that, I forgot to show you. So here we have this, and let's put these solids on here. They're pretty, no doubt, but that is a pretty heavy saturated looking combination. It really, and sometimes black can make colors look muddy, especially if they tend to be muddy to begin with. And so I can see why it's not her thing. Now, if you like Amish quilting, this idea, because it's not a rule, this idea just goes out the window, right? But I can see where she would say that. But she liked gray better. And when I do this with my same fabrics, look at that. It's still a beautiful neutral. You're going to see a fabric here in a minute that works even better with this, but it's a beautiful neutral background. But these colors aren't drugged down. They're out there the way they're supposed to be. Pride of place. They're just beautiful. So I would actually choose a slightly deeper gray, but this was the only solid I had to kind of show you this idea. But I really, especially when you get into these, what I call these milkier colors, that looks like they've taken red and poured a bunch of milk into it and come up with this beautiful kind of lighter salmon, and this would be more of a darker salmon. But even my beloved minty aqua color looks gorgeous with this teal. I really like it because those colors come up, you still have a nice neutral background. So I'm with Tula. A lot of the times now, instead of using black for my backgrounds, I'll use a gray. Well, then Tula had her, it's either handmade or homemade collection. I think it's handmade. I can't remember. It was during COVID, and I don't remember much from COVID anymore. And one of the fabrics was this. Now, this also came in one that had a dark navy background, which was stunning as well. But I wish at the time I had purchased like 5 bolts of this one because I love it that much. I use it that often, especially when I'm working with Tula fabrics. I love it because it's a confetti. Look, when I hold it up here, look at all of the colors, all the beautiful Tula colors. The yellow, the lighter salmon is in there. My minty color is in there. The purplish blue is in there. The darker one is in there. There's green in there. All kinds of colors, right? And all those solids that she creates for her collection. Look at, I mean, the sky's the limit with that one. And it's so beautiful. This gives a little texture to the background, doesn't make it go, right? Doesn't pull it all down, gives a little texture, but yet these are all solids. So they're being framed beautifully. So I like this one, but the one thing I want you to know here is this gray and this gray are not the same. This is a deeper gray, a little more of a blue gray, I would say. And I really like it. It's a beautiful gray to go with color. So, and you can just tell right there with all the colors on it. It's truly lovely. So for today's project, for today's block, I was thinking, well, if I just, let me set that one and bring this gray over. If I am just pulling from my stash random fabrics, I have this gray. Well, I have a little micro polka dot. You can see that red. It's red with the, I'm guessing that polka dot is supposed to be white, but I will swear to you that it is the softest baby pink. And that might be because the red is reflecting off the white and giving it a pinkish look. I'm not quite sure. And then there's that color with that gray. Ooh, we like that. Here's one of our Moda grunges in there. Now this is more of a salmon. It's coming across kind of berry, but it's more salmon. And then there's this beautiful bluish color, this greenish one, this deep purple. How gorgeous is that? A lighter, more mauve color. This is a Mota Grunge. Look at that. Yum, yum, yum. And then here's another kind of a salmon that also has like a berry color in it. So I thought, well, that would, if I wanted to do today's block purely scrappy, no intention of who the fabric designer was, anything like that, this color gray and 5 different pieces from that stack, because we only need 5 colors, would work beautifully. Now that gets a little dark in there. I might pull, let's see, I might pull this one and I might put that one in there. Or actually, I might pull that one and put that one in there, or something like that. You could play around with that. These are just random fat quarters that I pulled out of the stash drawers behind me. So that's what you could do. And then I thought, well, what if I did some Tula fabrics? And I thought, well, let's start with this gray, because to be honest, I didn't think I had this one anymore. I thought I was completely out of it, which makes me so sad. So I have these. Now, these have not been pressed yet. They're directly out of the package. This is Tula's Full Moon Forest 2 Fat Quarter collection. And this is 1, 2, 3, 5 of them from that collection that are all the same design. They have little planets and stars and moons on them. I guess they're moons, not planets, because full moon, half moon, little stars, things like that on them. So this is the purple with the mint on there. Lovely. This is the mint with the yellow. I'm there. This is that kind of sour apple color with kind of a periwinkle blue. Oh, yep, got that one. I'm good there. And then this is that lovely, lovely salmon or carnation or whatever color you want to call it. And that is a soft pink in there. Stunning. I love it. And then there's this, I call this Velveeta cheese. Sorry, Tula, if you ever see this, do not be offended. I am of the generation where Velveeta cheese slices on saltine crackers were your after school snack. Yeah, I know that's taking us back to the 50s and 60s, or the 60s and early 70s, but that's me. So that's my Velveeta color with that lovely mint on it. And yep, I love that too. But because these are prints, and even though they're small prints, I don't want a print background. I think it's going to make everything too muddled, too messy, too distracting to the eye. But if I use a solid and this, I'm there. That would be a beautiful collection. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, that's 5 of them. So that collection from the Full Moon Forest 2 would be beautiful. And then Tula's had some other collections, and I just pulled a couple from each of them because you guys know I have like everything Tula's ever made, and a lot of it in more than one piece. So she had she has these out, they're little hexagons. This color, sorry, is kind of hard to see. Can you see that one better? A little bit better, but they're all hexagons on here. And so, and I know there's probably this in 5 colors. So that little print with this would look great, right? That would be cool for this week's block. And then she had this set, and I don't remember which one this one came from either, these mineral prints. And I was never, to be honest, the mineral print has never been a super favorite, but it is a great little fabric to throw in things here and there. So I do use it. I do like it. It's just never been something I've wanted to give pride of place to in my quilts, but it sure would work in this week's design. I know there's a green. I think there's even a blue. I just didn't pull them all out. I just grabbed these 4 because they were right on top of one of my buckets. But all of those would work beautifully with a solid gray background for sure. Now, I could, again, if I'm going to go all scrappy, no intention, no curation from a collection of a designer, anything like that, I can pull fabrics directly from my stash. These are all either like grunge fabrics. This one isn't grunge, but it's kind of a very similar. It's got variation in the color. This is a grunge. This is a grunge. This is not a grunge, but it has this kind of a tiny printed kind of pebbly look to it. And this one has this little bitty like color on color X in it. That would make a great version of this week's block. And did you notice, except for this one, which is the darker version, I didn't use my light color in there. Trying to expand my I'm trying to expand my ideas a little bit, right? So those would work. And the reason I would put these with a solid and not necessarily with this beautiful Tula confetti, I mean, they would go with that. Doggone, that would look great. I take that back. I would use these 5 and this one together. But because these have print on them, using it with a solid would also be fantastic. So that would be another choice for this week's fabric. You know, I don't like to tell you you must use this fabric because, for one, you might not be able to get the fabrics I'm telling you about. But I would love for you this week to really try using a gray background and see what you think of it. And in the end, if you go, Diana, I really hate it, then I'm sorry. But you tried it and now you know. You'll know why you hate it. Instead of just going, ew, I don't like that. You'll know why you don't like that because you've worked with it a little bit. But the one I think, and then of course this with that is stunning. And I really thought this was the way I was going to go. But I love this so much. And I only have, so what you see here and this piece here, that's all I've got of it. If I can find it, if you know of anyone that still happens by some miracle to have this in a store, drop me a comment, would you, or an email, because I would love to find more of this fabric. But I think I'm going to use the light yellow solid, the light salmon, the mint, the purplish blue, and the darker salmon. I think I'm going to use those solids, and I'm going to go kind of value-wise light to dark. I think that way. I think that's what I'm going to do for this week. And you'll know here in just a minute. Well, you'll know because if you've already got the pattern, you know which one I chose. Or who knows? I might make 2. Right? So anyway, that's the idea I wanted to share with you all around color for this week. The idea of, instead of a black background, try a gray background and see what you think. You might decide that instead of going, ew, I don't like it, you go, oh, I really do kind of like it. Because I know a lot of us, when we think of gray, we think of like work uniforms and, you know, not exciting things. But when you add color to gray, gray can really step up. All right, everybody, choose what you like. I can't wait to see your pictures. Please send them in, you know, and I will show you the address here at the end. But let's go ahead and move on with the rest of our video. Okay, everybody. So what did you think about that idea of using gray as your background? I can tell you, I really do love it. I have always been someone who thought, although I wear black all the time, I think it's harsh in my quilts. Although I love Amish quilts. What's wrong with me? I've got a weird brain going on there, don't I? But I don't personally like using a lot of black in my own quilts. I don't know. It's just one of those things, right? I have a friend, I love her to pieces. She knows red is one of my favorite colors in the world. She won't use red to save her life. She hates red in her quilts. I don't really know why, but she does. So whenever I do something, I'm like, feel free to switch out the red. She said, oh, and she'll say, oh, yes, I will. So, you know, every quilter is different because we're artists. That's right. We're artists. You guys know I always tell you that. And so if black just isn't my thing. And so when Tula made those references to using gray, I thought, well, I'm going to try that, right? She's sharing, I can use it, I can share with you guys. That's what quilting's all about, sharing with one another, making beautiful items, beautiful quilts. And I love this idea of, sorry, the light was in my, I love this idea of using gray. So I challenge you to try this block with a gray background, okay? any gray fabric you want, but I shared with you the different like tones of gray you might want to look at in the last part of the video. But now I want to talk to you about the layout. So I have all of mine here, and yes, you kind of saw it at the beginning. I chose to do solid centers with the Tula Pink. It's not called confetti, it's called seed stitch. That's this one. The gray is called, it's from her homemade line, and it's called seed stitch. I looked that up since I made the video to double check. Looks like confetti to me. That's called seed stitch. All right, so let's go under our overhead camera. Now, in your packet, remember that page that tells you what to cut and how many? Right there. Well, right above it, that's your layout from your individual blocks to your rows to your completed block, okay? So all of that is right in your free download for this particular block. So we have 3 blocks in the first or top row. Now, I chose to use, my solids are all from the Tula Solids line. And then I chose to use the homemade seed stitch in gray. There's another one of this that's in like a navy blue that's awfully pretty too, but I love this gray. And so I chose 5 of those solid colors. And so 4 of your solid colors, let's go ahead and bring this one up because this is 4. Of 4 of your solid colors, and it tells you this in your download, you're going to cut 2 of them because these 4 blocks will repeat one more time. But then there's a 5th center color, and you're only going to cut 1 of those because you're only making it once to go right in the center. And I chose kind of that sour apple. I think this is actually called citron, but when I look at it, and I now that I see it, yes, I think citron. Yep, that's that color. But I think I was calling it like sour apple green or something like that. So that goes in your center. And then after, so it starts here, 1, 2, 3, and 4 colors, your 5th color, and then you start over again with your first color, which is this beautiful deep periwinkle bluish purple. It looks purple on the screen, but when you look at it in real life, it really has a much bluer cast to it. I love it. It's a really beautiful color. And then, so color number 2 will be the first one down here, color number 3, and color number 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 are a repeat of the top 4. Let's see, do I need to come this way? I do need to come this way a little bit so you can see that bottom row better. There you go. And so that is our layout. Top row or first row, second row or middle row, and third row or bottom row, however you wish to call it, top, bottom, first, second, whatever. So those are your 3, that's your block laid out as individual segments. Then you will sew your blocks together in each row, and you will end up with 3 rows. Then you're going to sew your row, the top row and the bottom row, onto your center row or your middle, and that will end up giving you this beautiful diamond in a square block. Now, I have to say this. You know I was going to. This block cries out to be used in fussy cutting. I would love to see this block made as a full quilt, just this block. No fillers, no sashing, no nothing. Just all blocks of diamond in a square, and say every 3 or every 5 diamonds in a square has a fussy cut in it. That would be a glorious looking quilt. If I could get enough of this fabric, this seed stitch fabric in the gray, which I only have a little bit of it left now, and I doubt I would be able to get enough, but if I could, I would make this in our new extended sizes, the 7-inch, because that 7-inch gives you such a beautiful area for fussy cutting. And then I would use some of the beautiful portraiture prints in the Tula fabrics. and I would make a whole quilt that way. I would love to do it, but I just don't think I'm going to be able to. If you know, I'm putting out the call here, my quilting friends. If you know of anyone who's still selling this Tula Pinks homemade seed stitch in gray, please drop me a line or drop a comment, because I'll contact them and see if I can purchase it from them, because I would love to do that and make this quilt. It would be, oh, it would be such a glorious quilt. I would absolutely love it. But back to the idea of fussy cutting. Even these little 3-inch squares, you can still fussy cut inside them. There are always smaller to medium sized little pieces that can be fussy cut. And if you want a free set of paper fussy cut patterns, you can grab those at our website. All the stuff on the website that is still free is going to end up in a free library here probably by the early part of next week, because I have to be gone the next couple of days. But it will be in there, and then, but you can go and get it now. You just have to get it through the shop, and I'll share that with you in a minute. But it would be gorgeous. So in this one, you could fussy cut along this diagonal. You could just fussy cut something in the center. That would be lovely. Or the center and the 4 outer corners would be cute too. Or you can do it just like it is. I can't wait, you guys, to see some of your quilts. So I want you to send me pictures of your block and how you finish them. And I want you to send them to me at support@sewuncommon.com. And if you don't mind, I will ask you first, unless you tell me in the email. I would love to share those with everyone, because you guys, your stuff is so inspiring to everyone. And if you don't want me to say who you are or anything, I won't, but I would love to show your block. So please send them in to me at the pictures at support@sewuncommon.com. Now, in order to get your free download, you're going to get this at the 24 Block Challenge library once you get the password, and then you can download the other 18 that are already there if you don't have them. They're all free downloads. Oh, and about the library, when you get inside, you're going to see a thumbnail of the block and then a link. I made it so if you click on the thumbnail or the link, it will take you to the page to print out or download your pattern, okay? So that way you don't have to go, oh, where do I click? No, you can click anywhere on either the link or the picture, and it'll get you to where you need to go, all righty? Okay, everybody. So the website is www.mybuildaquilt.com, and you can get your free downloads or one of the 3 basic segment libraries, either the minis, the standards, or the extended sizes. If you have any questions about today's video, please leave them in the comments, or once again, if you're shy, feel free to send me a note at support@sewuncommon.com. But trust me when I tell you, if you have that question, so did at least 5, 10, 20 other people. So feel free to leave them in the comments, and I'll get those answered for you right away as well. All right, everyone, you know what I'm going to say? Oh, after this is the little segment video on stitching your pieces together without that 1/4 inch, but so simple. You guys are going to love that too, because the whole idea of Build a Quilt was I created it so that my embroidery friends would quilt with me. They would not. I had 7, 8 beautiful friends. And I was always trying to get them to come quilt with me. Please, guys, I'll teach. If you don't know, I'll teach you, because I've been quilting since I was 7, and I'm in my 60s. And I was begging them to come and quilt with me. No, we're not sewers, we're not quilters, we're embroiderers. And so one day, I think they thought they got me, because they said, well, if you can figure out how we can do it with our sewing machine or with our embroidery machine, we'll quilt with you. 6 years later, I had developed the Build a Quilt patchwork in the hoop system, because I took classes at night to learn how to digitize. I took classes to figure out how to design, and so I took all the knowledge that I knew about how quilts worked and how quilt segments worked, and tried to figure out how can I put those things together to make them. And some other places have come up with very similar ideas. So I'm not going to say, like, for me, it was my own light bulb moment, but other people have had similar ideas, but they add like the batting to it and things like that. So the process is a little different. This is just allowing you to make your quilt tops and then quilt them any way you want to. I took classes. I bought a very rudimentary, basic embroidery machine. I had to learn how to do this on software that wasn't very conducive to the idea of quilting. But 6 years later, which was over 3 years ago now, we launched Build A Quilt. And my friends will quilt with me now. I love it. And it was about friendship. And so I think of each and every one of you truly, guys, as a friend, a quilting friend. No matter where you are in the United States, where I am, or throughout the world, I consider you a quilting friend. And it brings me such joy to come to you each and every week and quilt with you and bring you new blocks and new quilts and new projects. And I hope you enjoy it. Several of you have told me that you do, so I believe you. And then you know that the last thing I tell you at the end of every single video is that quilters, we are artists. And whenever we put our quilts out into the world, or our quilted projects out into the world, we make the world a more beautiful and I think a more lovely place. And who can't use more love and more beauty in this world, right? No matter where we are, what time of the world it is, beauty and love can always be more. It's like my little nephews used to say, my dessert side is still empty. My food side's all filled up, but my dessert side's still empty. Well, my beauty and love side is still got lots of room to grow, right? So we are artists. We make the world a more beautiful place. And so I leave you with this thought each and every time. Go quilt life beautiful. Bye for now, everybody.
Hi everybody, so this is Diana and I'm here at my sewing machine to show you how to sew your pieces together without getting that stitch line to show. Now you can see here I just have two little half square triangles. I've used the pin method up here at the point to make sure they're lined up, and I just have one clip here. Now what I do first is when I put this in my machine, I get my needle right to where the line would be, right on that stitch line, okay? Then I come over to my machine's tools and I take my width down by 1, and that's all. Now I'm going to put it back up and I'm going to take you back over to here and let you see that. Okay, so watch the needle, how that moves. I'm going to move it now. See how it just moved one place to the inside, or I guess as you're looking at it, it would be to the left. That would be to the inside. Now I'm going to place my needle down, and I can go ahead and remove my clip because this is a small piece, and I can sew right down. And I have my stitch length at 1.8, and you can see now that I've already done a few stitches, it is still right one click in. It's not directly on top of it, and so I should, when I'm done, be able to finish and not have that black line sewn, and you just follow it all the way down. Now I'm going to cut my thread and bring it out, and I will open this up and bring it right back over so you can see it. So there it is, opened up. Now you might see a little of the black in this case because I used that marker, but when I'm just going to open up my seam in the back and hold it open for you. But you can see when I hold it open, that's just a little piece of thread that I can pull out of there. That's gone. And now you don't see it at all. You don't see any of the black thread, which I used for demonstration purposes, but you don't see any of my original embroidery thread from making the patchwork itself. And that is just by moving that needle one space and one space only. And again, I always stitch these with a 1.8 or a 2.0 stitch length so that it really holds these together when you go and open them up. And when I open it up here, you can see the line all the way down on both sides, and that's what you should be able to do. So I hope that you found that helpful. That was a great question. Thank you so much for asking that. And now we'll move on with the rest of the Q&A for today.